Hey everybody, it's Drags, and it's Wednesday, April 17th, time for episode 294 of Patriots Beat on the CLNS Media Network. Find us at clnsmedia.com, and of course, as always, follow us on Twitter at Patriots CLNS. We're gearing up fast for the 2019 NFL Draft, and no team needs to take full advantage of this annual restocking plan more than the New England Patriots. How are they going to use their 12 picks in the draft to restock and reload? Last week, we spoke to CLNS colleague and expert Evan Lazar. This week, I want to welcome someone who also pays particular attention to roster building throughout the season and does a great job of it on patspropaganda.com. Hello, once again, Mike Dussault. How have you been, bud?
Hey, Trags, I've been great, enjoying my Super Bowl off season. It's been nice, but obviously it's been an interesting off season already, and it looks like it's even got more interesting. So it's an exciting time. Things turn the page pretty quick to the off season.
You are also, full disclosure, a Bruins fan and watching Monday night. Are you over it?
They got to get that top line going. I feel like that's,
sure do.
That's the big key. And if they do that, it'll change things quickly, hopefully. So, hopefully they can turn it around and extend the series a little bit.
All right, let's get to the business at hand, and that is the Patriots. First of all, the news here, that was reported on Tuesday, and the Patriots confirming it, was that they have signed Demaryius Thomas, 31-year-old veteran wide receiver, 9 years with Denver, and actually half a year with the Houston Texans. Signed him to a 1-year contract. He's coming off an Achilles tear injury, a ruptured Achilles tendon, late in the 18 season. What do you think of the deal for wide receiver depth?
I mean, I think they had to do it. It's just right now the wide receiver depth is non-existent, essentially. I mean, you don't know what you could possibly get out of Josh Gordon. I mean, the only thing you really know is that you have Julian Edelman, who obviously is a big piece of the puzzle. But after him, there's not much proven, exciting talent on the roster. So I felt like they had to do it. I never loved Demaryius Thomas. When he was in Denver, I feel like Logan Ryan, when you're physical with him, he seemed to kind of wither in the big spots. But you look at what they had, and it felt like that was a move they had to make, just like it was with Safarian Jenkins at tight end.
I think that's a great point. Just going over the wide receiver depth chart now, it is Julian Edelman and Philip Dorsett. I'm not putting in Demaryius Thomas yet over Philip Dorsett. I don't think you can do that. But after those two, you go Maurice Harris, Demaryius Thomas, Bruce Ellington, and Braxton Berrios.
Oof. I mean, who?
Well, I mean, what's interesting about Braxton Berrios, and we talked about this last week with Evan, is that he could be a big part of the Patriots' plans, not just as a wide receiver, but he could be Cordero Patterson's replacement as a returner.
Sure, absolutely. And I mean, I think, I saw a few practices last year with him, and I mean, he just really didn't get the chances. So there's obviously a huge hole for, not only to develop an inside kind of quick receiver behind Edelman to kind of replace Edelman, be it, returning kicks, returning punts, especially, try to manage Edelman a little bit there. But, you also need the outside guys too. So he's a definite X factor. He's had kind of a year in the system. Ellington, Harris, those are those kind of, journeyman guys you throw at the wall a little bit, and see if maybe they click with Tom Brady. We've seen that happen sometime, but, wide receiver remains a huge need for the draft, both inside and outside.
Well, let's not, also going back to Demaryius Thomas, let's not forget the fact that Josh McDaniels drafted Demaryius Thomas along with Tim Tebow, right? Back in 2010, out of Georgia Tech.
Absolutely. And you think who knows how long it's going to take him to recover from this and, being older, how good is he going to be? I mean, we have seen guys come back from that injury. Also, the same one that projected starting left tackle Isaiah Wynn is coming off of. It's a significant injury, so it's hard to really know what you could possibly count on from him. But, if they're able to get him through camp, maybe keep him on the PUP list and bring him along slowly, and, then he becomes reinforcements in October, which, could badly be needed. And they would find a way to use him. I mean, he still has the skill set, and the Patriots are always creative with guys and playing to their strengths, whatever he might have left.
And he's also Demaryius Thomas, 31 years old. He's a four-time Pro Bowl selection and 5 straight years of 1,000-yard receiving from 2012 through 2016. I mean, that's an incredible run of productivity, but obviously the Patriots don't bring you on because of past production per se. It's what could he possibly do for the Patriots and how he could help Tom Brady, a guy that here's another wide receiver who, like Eric Decker, is toward the end of his career and might get a chance to prove that he has a little bit of gas left in the tank. But I'm sure, the contract isn't going to really, the numbers are not out on it yet as we record this on Tuesday night. But certainly, I'm sure the Patriots are not taking a big risk here.
Oh, for sure. And I think it just goes back to what I think they do every offseason in free agency, which is, build essentially a team you could maybe roll out in September that will be competitive. So there is not a super duper glaring, like we have to find a starter here in the draft, kind of need. They establish that kind of baseline at all positions, which, I think they pretty much had done. A week ago, it seemed like tight end and wide receiver were positions where, they really haven't established that baseline yet. And, I think the fact that they went out and added those two guys, kind of that rounds things out. I mean, it's hard to say, that this is a, Super Bowl caliber set of weapons. But I certainly think they have the draft capital to add some more exciting pieces to the puzzle, especially wide receiver, tight end.
And I'm sure those defending this move and defending Demaryius Thomas, namely Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, would tell you that his most productive seasons came in an offense that Peyton Manning was running the offense out in Denver. And certainly that's a big deal, and that's a big difference. And that's what I think maybe the Patriots foresee with Demaryius Thomas is if you get the right quarterback throwing him the football, and you get Thomas on the same page with TB12, maybe there is, I'm not saying there's going to be 1,619 yards like there was in 2014, but you could be looking at maybe 900 yards with, let's say, 7 or 8 touchdowns. And somehow, some way, they've got to replace the red zone production lost with the retirement of Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, I think that's the biggest blow is, just how much you're losing in both the run and the pass game without Gronk. And obviously Gronk was Gronk, in the red zone and the touchdowns and all that. But talk about a player who really, made that run game go last year, even when he was having his down moments as a receiver. And I'd throw Dwayne Allen into that mix as well. When you look at how those two tight ends contributed to the 2018 team, and now you've lost those two guys, even without the wide receivers, all that. I think that's the bigger impact to kind of this offense is, do they start to sputter that run game? If they can't reproduce that, that's going to put a lot more pressure on Brady in the pass game. So, I think it's interesting times for sure, especially at tight end and how they replace Gronk with a multitude. It's going to take 2-3 guys and I don't know for sure if they have those two or three guys yet. Maybe they have one in Austin Seferian-Jenkins though.
Speaking with Mike Dussault of PatsPropaganda.com. Follow him on Twitter at PatsPropaganda. What about Austin Seferian-Jenkins?
He looks the part. I think he's more of a pass catcher. He's not going to bring the same dirty work kind of blocking that Gronk was able to do and take on some of the biggest, defensive ends, those guys, and pin them at the edge. But I think he's the most experienced guy now on the roster and at least gives them somebody who has somewhat of a presence, at least in the passing game. You can get Brady working with him early and hopefully developing with him, because, he's really a guy they're going to need to immediately kind of step in and at least settle things down a little bit. I mean, because even if they bring rookies in, they're still going to have, somebody playing that role, like when Gronk and Hernandez came in 2010 and, didn't step in immediately playing every down. It took them a year to work in until they could get to that point.
What do you think about the draft and the realistic possibilities that the Patriots get one of the top three, tight end prospects, Hawkinson or Noah Fant out of Iowa, or Irv Smith out of Alabama?
Sure. I mean, that's the big question, are those guys available? I mean, I think it would probably come down to Fant and Smith, if the Patriots kind of stay where they're at. But I mean, I would certainly advocate, this year especially, that, needing the kind of guys that they need to come in and kind of make an immediate impact. It might make sense to move up kind of like they did in 2012. But again, there's just so many positions of need. It's tough to match. I'm a big Deebo Samuel fan. I've really enjoyed watching him play. Somebody like that at the wide receiver position could, come in and instantly, bring a little bit of a spark there that they need. The thing that's tough though is that, Fant, is he going to come in and block? Not, probably not. So, that's still a significant role, that they have to manage. Do they look at just a guy later who's more of a blocker to kind of take on a role like that? A lot of ways they could go because they've got a lot of needs and a lot of capital. So it's going to be interesting.
Speaking once again with Mike Dussault of patspropaganda.com. Hey everybody, I want to tell you about the future of mobile investing. It's called Robinhood. Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission-free. While other brokerages charge up to $10 for every trade, Robinhood doesn't charge any commission fees, so you can trade stocks and keep all of your profits. Plus, there is no account minimum deposit needed to get you started, so you can start investing at any level. The simple, intuitive design of Robinhood makes investing easy for newcomers and experts alike. View easy-to-understand charts and market data and place a trade in just 4 taps on your smartphone. You can also view stock collections, such as the 100 most popular. With Robinhood, you can also learn how to invest in the market as you build your portfolio, discover new stocks, track your favorite companies, and get custom notifications for price movements so you never miss the right moment to invest. Robinhood is giving listeners of Patriots Beat a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help you build your portfolio. Sign up now at patriots.robinhood.com. Once again, sign up at patriots.robinhood.com. Back with Mike Dussault of patspropaganda.com. Russell Wilson got his big deal on Monday. 4-year extension, $140 million, averaging out to about $35 million a year in average salary. $65 million of it is guaranteed. What does it mean for Tom Brady? Go.
It's good to be a quarterback. I mean, it's it's hard to say how these contracts now affect Tom Brady, because I feel like his end is basically written. I think we've all kind of, including, ownership and everything, have, resigned to the fact that he's kind of here until the end. So
sure.
Is money really an object to Tom Brady anymore? I mean, is he going to uproot his team? And you know what I mean? I think that they all have a path and a financial path forward to get him to, whatever it may be, because things can change quickly. But I mean, it's certainly good for Russell Wilson. It's good to be a quarterback in this league, and obviously it's the key piece. And the Patriots would do well to find the next one after Tom Brady sooner than later.
And certainly, Mike, the Patriots don't want to go down the path of franchising Tom Brady. Not that I think that's going to happen at all. I mean, Brady wants to win, and for him to win, the Patriots need payroll cap space and they need payroll flexibility, right? So he's cutting off his nose to spite his face. If, he uses the leverage he certainly does have, to say, well, I'm not going to settle for anything less than, let's say, $30 million a year, which he might get anyway, who knows. But, the point is that Tom Brady knows what's best for the Patriots is best for him in the long run. And yes, he's going to take a hometown discount. He has ever since he started this process of renegotiating and maneuvering his contract back in 2013, I think it was. And I don't think it's going to stop now. I think he's going to be friendly to the Patriots, and I think a deal is probably going to be, an extension is going to be pretty imminent.
For sure. And I mean, I think that the biggest thing now is that, we're entering kind of a new phase around him in terms of the offense, especially without Gronkowski, Edelman for, hopefully this year, who knows how much longer. But, it's amazing how many versions of this offense Tom Brady has gone through. And the time is here again to, kind of give him, if he's going to get another Super Bowl, to find the guys he's going to do it with, because, he can't lean on those same guys he's been leaning once again. So with 12 picks, this hopefully will lay the foundation for the final act.
Yeah, you would think so, right, Mike? I want to read you a list, okay? And these 10 quarterbacks have made more money than Brady from their NFL contracts since he started taking less than his market value in 2013, as I mentioned just a little while ago. Aaron Rodgers, $155.3 million. Matthew Stafford, $127.5. Joe Flacco, $124. Matt Ryan, $123.7. Drew Brees, $123.2. Eli Manning, $113.7. Phillip Rivers, $108.8. Ben Roethlisberger, $105.7. Alex Smith, pretty much $100 million right on the button. And Cam Newton, $88.4. Guess what Tom Brady has made in terms of money from his contract since he started taking less than market value in 2013? Take a guess.
80?
$85.7 million.
85.7.
And that puts him at 11th. And what's interesting about those 10 names, only 2 of them have been to a Super Bowl.
Well, the money went somewhere. It went around him, and I mean, it shows with the salary cap. I mean, you talk about the Patriots being the first dynasty post salary cap. I mean, would they have been able to do it, without Brady taking those kind of, manageable deals and, understanding? I mean, I think he's been able to, the success he has had, he's made up the difference, I would say, so it has all worked out for Tom Brady, but amazing list though of guys who
it is
the astonishing numbers.
Yeah, to me, it's mind-boggling because Brady could have made almost double and a half the amount of money that he is settled for when you compare it to the list that I just read off. And by the way, those 2 quarterbacks who made the Super Bowl since 2013, Matt Ryan and Cam Newton.
Yeah, it's impressive how much money. It's just, the quarterback is such the key part, and it's a turning point for every team when they have those early years, especially with a young quarterback on a manageable deal, and then it comes time to pay those guys, and that instantly kind of resets your roster because now you can't spend on that huge defense and everything else. So it's fascinating to see how teams get through those times, and when they choose to invest and when they choose not to.
It's April 2005, and University of California quarterback Aaron Rodgers is waiting excitedly in the green room during the NFL draft. It's looking like he'll be the number 1 pick by his hometown team, the San Francisco 49ers. But the day doesn't quite go as planned, and hours later, at pick number 24, Aaron Rodgers is finally selected by the Green Bay Packers. That draft day changed his career and the career of Brett Favre forever, sparking a rivalry that lasted over a decade. In Sports Wars, the new podcast from Wondery, you'll hear what happens when some of the most elite athletes in the world battle their biggest rivals for the chance to go down in history as one of the greats. You know how these stories begin and even how some of them end, but what you don't know is what really happened in between. Who was right, who was wrong, and which side are you on? Sports Wars is hosted by Dan Rubenstein of Sports Illustrated and SB Nation, who has seen firsthand the drama, emotion, and greatness these rivalries can bring. You're about to listen to a clip of the first episode of Sports Wars that brings you deep into one of the most famous NFL rivalries, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers. An NFL icon versus a hotshot rookie. While you're listening, go subscribe to Sports Wars wherever you're listening right now. You can also find a link in the episode notes that will take you right to the show.
Sports is all about rivalry. Two players, teams, or even ideas colliding. And fans have to choose a side. Sports rivalries can begin with a single moment.
Aaron Rodgers will have the luxury to go play with Brett Favre in Green Bay.
Or a controversial decision.
Michael Jordan's stipulation, I'm on the dream team only if Isaiah is not. Fair or foul?
Sometimes the fates of two superstars are forever linked.
Federer's magnificent run ends. Nadal is the top.
We know how these stories begin. And even when we've seen how some of them end.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
What about everything that went down in between? Who was right? Who was wrong? And which side are you on? From Wondery, the network behind Business Wars and Dirty John, I'm Dan Rubenstein, the host of Sports Wars. I've covered sports for years at places like Sports Illustrated and SB Nation, and have been fortunate enough to witness the drama, the greatness, and the emotion up close, which is why we're excited to bring you deep into some of the biggest rivalries in sports, like Brett Favre fighting off Aaron Rodgers for the starting QB job in Green Bay, Michael Jordan clashing with Isaiah Thomas, and the U.S. Olympic hockey team taking aim at the Soviet Union. The biggest names in sports and the rivalries that define them. It all starts on April 17th, so subscribe now to Sports Wars on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening right now. Come on, button's right there. So easy.
Speaking with Mike Dussault of Patriots, or of PatsPropaganda.com. Follow him on Twitter at PatsPropaganda, all one word. You gotta start eventually, right, thinking about his replacement. It's only normal and only, the smart thing for the Patriots to do. And look, Danny Etling was taken last year in the 7th round, pretty much as a flyer, a developmental guy. And everybody I've ever spoken to about Danny Etling says he's a hard worker, and he's very good in practice. He's Brian Hoyer's replacement, the perfect scout team quarterback, the perfect guy that you want coming off the bench in an emergency, but he's not your long-term solution. And making the assumption, Mike, that the top quarterbacks, and we're talking about Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins, probably Missouri's Drew Lock, and Duke's Daniel Jones, they're probably going to be off the board by the time the Patriots draft at 32, assuming the Patriots don't move up, which they could, but I doubt they would for a quarterback. You're looking at this following a group of QBs. Ryan Finley of North Carolina State, Clayton Thorson of Northwestern, Will Grier of West Virginia, Brett Rippon of Boise State. And I'm going to throw this one out at you, 6'7" Tyree Jackson of Buffalo. What do you think?
I like it. I mean, one guy I really like, and I mean that I think you kind of always look for those traditional guys. Will Grier is certainly, I think he's kind of pinged all the Patriot, draft gurus, for good reason. And, I think when you look, certainly, Daniel Jones might be out of their reach, but you look for those traditional guys. The interesting thing I was thinking though is, if this is really going to be, Josh McDaniels for a little bit, if he gets the kind of pick, I mean, he's gone outside the box before drafting a guy like Tebow in the first round. Do they have to replace Brady? Could they go a different direction with a more mobile guy rather than, the traditional passer to kind of succeed Brady? So, it'll be interesting to see. Easton Stick's another guy out of North Dakota State. You look for those guys with leadership quality, maybe a little bit over the physical, and maybe at the lower levels. I just think at this point, throw every quarterback you can at the wall, and try to get them mentoring under Brady for as long as possible.
I think that Josh McDaniels, factor and the aspect of this is actually very interesting, Mike, because he is the guy that's going to be working with the quarterback, assuming that he stays on as offensive coordinator, and who knows if he's the head coach following Bill Belichick. I'm not necessarily buying into that assumption, point blank, but, I think there is a good possibility that, he will be the offensive coordinator as long as Belichick is here. And he's a guy that's going to have to develop the next quarterback after Brady.
Yeah, and he's going to have a big say in who they pick next. And I mean, I think when you look back at, Ryan Mallett and Garoppolo, guys that they've kind of drafted before, they had unique talents. I mean, I think Garoppolo coming out, his release was, universally appreciated as, this guy can get the ball out quick. And even Mallett, although it didn't really translate, had a big arm. So, they're drawn to these guys. I don't think it's necessarily scheme related. But if guys have unique talents and things that kind of stand out, I think they're kind of drawn to those kind of guys.
All right. I want to go over some historical perspective here with you, Mike. Mike Dussault of PatsPropaganda.com. New England Patriots hold 12 picks. You mentioned that a little bit earlier in this year's draft out of Nashville, Tennessee. And that's tied with the New York Giants for the most overall picks in this draft. And Patriots' 12 picks are tied for the second highest draft day compilation for the team since the draft was shortened back in 1993. That's quite a long period of time, 26 years. And only the second time in that 26-year span the Patriots have had this many draft picks, come the 3-day period. Patriots also drafted 12 players in 09 and 96, and 13, I should say, in 96. Mike, the Patriots are not drafting all 12 picks, right?
No. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, I think it's going to be the Wild Wild West this year, I think. I mean, they could move up, they could move down. They have significant, positions of need. I mean, I would put left tackle still, in the question mark as, assuming that Isaiah Wynn is just going to be able to step in at that position. Tight end, as we mentioned, wide receiver, secondary is getting a little old. The safety class is pretty good here. So there's a lot of needs, and significant ones where guys could step in and theoretically play day one, just like Dante Hightower and Chandler Jones did in 2012. So, I would be ready for anything. I think they trade up. They trade down. I mean, it's going to be tough keeping track of, I think, because they really, need to find some guys that can come in and play.
Of all the veterans that Bill Belichick has brought in here in the offseason so far, which ones stick out the most to you? Including the Michael Bennett from the Eagles and Mike Pennell from the Jets.
Yeah, well, those two I think are where I would start immediately. I mean, those were necessary additions. Ones to have to replace Malcolm Brown, who really gave you a lot of quality snaps in Super Bowls and all that. So Mike Pennell fits the mold, and I think that's has that kind of attitude you want from the interior defensive line, and I think he can play that role. Lawrence Guy, I think, had a little bit of a breakout year last year, so he's another guy who's good inside with him. And to bring in Bennett to kind of offset some of the loss of Trey Flowers, in terms of the pass rush. But again, I think that's going to be by committee. You're not going to replace all of what Trey Flowers did on, for 3 downs with just Michael Bennett. So again, I think, defensive end is a need as well. So they've established a good solid line overall, but I think there's definitely some spots where they're going to need some talent. And let's not forget, we're getting a lot of guys back, rookies from last year who got hurt and sat out last year.
Belichick has always done a remarkable job, Mike, and you and I both know this. I think every intelligent Patriots fan or every Patriots fan worth their salt knows that he has always blended the veterans with the younger players, the first and second year players brilliantly. It seems like to me, with the roster getting older at very key positions, namely the secondary, the safeties, and certainly the offensive line, I think that this is the time where the Patriots start to lean a little bit more on younger players than he has in the past.
I think he's going to have to. I mean, I think when you look at how long that they've been doing this, you look at the transition they went between when they, last won a Super Bowl in 2004 to all the way until 2014, until they won again. So, I mean, you went 10 years in between Super Bowls. You had to turn over the defense. Your offense went through multiple phases. And, you can see how that dynasty kind of faded out. And now this one is kind of set to do the same. And can they squeeze it out of, Chung, McCourty, Hightower, those guys who have given you 3 more Super Bowls. It's kind of a race to the end. We know, Bruschi, Vrabel, that group fell a little short, just short of getting that fourth one in 2007. So, the clock is definitely ticking, and they're going to have to add some guys to kind of form the next generation. I mean, it's just amazing how long they've been doing it, that they're, going through this again, having to turn the entire team over. It's insane.
So, Mike, what are you guys going to be doing on patspropaganda.com to ramp up to April 25th through 27th?
Sure. Well, I've been, every year I try to come up with 50 prospect big board and, try to get as many of the Patriots picks as I can of those 50. I've been doing that for, since I think 2010 was maybe the first year that I did it. So it's always a little way I challenge myself to try to, figure out who they like. So I'm whittling that one down, and then, bang out a mock draft, in the week leading up, and also, doing a Facebook Live show called Foxborough and Friends with my good pal Fitzy, that we've been, shooting and doing live, at I Love Boston Sports in the, South Shore Plaza. So, we're looking to do a draft preview show of that as well, leading up. So it should be fun. It's always exciting, to get some new toys to play with, in the Patriots.
Can people stop by the South Shore Plaza and say hi to you?
Absolutely. We've got customers coming in and out of the stores. Usually they're not quite sure, but we had a couple people come down last time, right at the end, stop in and say hi. So it's a lot of fun, and the more the merrier.
Mike, I got to tell you, it's always a pleasure talking with you, and you do a sensational job on patspropaganda.com. Be sure to follow Mike Dussault on Twitter at patspropaganda. Really appreciate the time as always, Mike.
No, for sure, Trax. Thanks for having me as always.
Want to thank everybody for downloading today's podcast and thank our great sponsors, Sports Wars and Robinhood. Also want to thank our great guest, Mike Dussault, who does a fantastic job for patspropaganda.com. Follow him once more on Twitter at patspropaganda. For producer Michael Angi and the founder of the network, Nick Gelso, this is Mike Petralia, and this has been the Patriots Beat podcast, powered by CLNS Media.
Hello, I'm Dan Lothian, host of the Behind the Media podcast on the CLNS Media Network. Along with Jimmy Young, we dive into the biggest media headlines each week with honest, informed, and sometimes irreverent perspectives. It's not all serious. We deliver information and entertainment. As we like to say on Behind the Media, we find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Listen to our podcast and get prepped for the next trip to the water cooler. Subscribe to Behind the Media wherever you get your podcast, or find us on www.clnsmedia.com.